may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
The Bears.
Because of the way they play the nickel corner here, and the nickel corner plays 88-85% of the snaps. He's got to be like part linebacker.
The Bears.
When you're in a scouting room, there's going to be differences of opinion.
The Bears.
Once coaches get involved, of course, they've got their own opinions about what fits best for what they want to do, and that could be drastically different than what the scouts say.
Well, you're looking at traits, and remember when he tested very, very well.
The Bears.
One thing good about Kevin, he's been with two other organizations, as well as being the commissioner of the Big Ten. He's been around.
The Bears.
With Greg Olson, Jerry didn't want to get rid of him. I didn't want to get rid of him. Nobody wanted to get rid of him. One guy wanted to get rid of him, Mike Martz, because Mike Martz didn't know what the hell to do with him. We tried to talk Lovey out of hiring Mike Martz for a month and a half. He's playing zone, but number one, he doesn't get enough depth with the drop. But who the hell's giving? How many times does a 305, 310-pound defensive tackle drop into coverage, especially in a key situation?
The Bears.
Greg, why are teams wrong on quarterback evaluation so often?
Number one, it's a hard position to evaluate. There's probably not as many real good quarterback evaluators as there needs to be.
The Bears. The Bears. The Bears.
Welcome, everyone, to a fresh edition of GTF. Gabriel Talks Football. My name is Aldo Gandia. Thanks for being here, especially after what happened last night. I know there's disappointment, frustration, anger on the part of many fans, but we're going to take you through it and make you feel hopefully a little bit better about what's ahead for this team. Quick programming note. We've got fresh programming Tuesday night, Buffon 55. Wednesday, Bare Their Souls. And also, we've got hockey on Wednesday afternoon. And we've got if you're a White Sox fan, you might want to hear Mike North and Joe Mandel pay their tributes to the late Wilbur Wood. Those of us who were around when he was pitching for the White Sox remember the season that he won 20 games, but he also lost 20 games. He was a knuckleball pitcher, and the arm never got tired, and they tried to tire his arm. But nonetheless, let's talk Chicago Bears football, and let's do it with this gentleman here, Greg Gabriel. Greg, how are you, my friend?
I think the season's over. I'm good.
We got to start. Yeah, I know we're here to talk Bears, but breaking news this morning, I wake up and I hear that Sean McDermott has been fired as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. All I can say is, what?
But Baltimore and Buffalo made the stupidest freaking moves I have ever seen.
Yes.
First of all, if you're going to fire a coach who's been successful.
Exactly.
Okay, Sean McDermott has been to the playoffs like 8 or 9 years in a row. Okay, every team in the league would beg for that if they haven't had a winning team. You better have somebody good to replace him. And this year's candidate list is putrid, awful, in the script. Everything else doesn't compare to a year ago. Perfect example. Look what Tennessee gets rid of Vrabel 2 years ago. Couldn't get us over the hump. Okay, so he sits out last year. He's got New England this year. Where's New England? In the AFC Championship game next week. That's why you don't do that.
Yep.
Took Harbaugh a week to get a freaking job.
Yeah.
And he went to the place I said he was going to go to, the New York Giants, because it was the best organization in the National Football League to go to. Bar none. I worked there for 17 years. There's nobody better than the Maras and the Tisches.
Yep. PZ3443 says, if the NFL had competent officials, McDermott would still be coaching in Buffalo. You agree with that?
Yeah. You know, when I saw that, I'm watching it in live time, and like last week, I got a three-way chat going on with my daughters. I can't repeat the stuff they were saying. You know, the FCC might, even though this is a stream, the FCC might get pissed. I thought it was a good call at first. Then I saw some different angles yesterday, and it was actually a very similar call to what happened in the Bears game, where they cause a fumble after the guy's knee hit the ground.
Right.
Pretty much the exact same thing. Buffalo got screwed on that, but you know what? It's over. They lost. You get an owner that's impatient. Maybe you get fans that are impatient, or you get talk radio that get impatient. And I know that's been the case in Buffalo. But I'll go back to what I just said. You better have somebody good to replace him. And
right now, there's no candidate.
Atlanta's all excited about Kevin Stefanski. What the fuck has Kevin Stefanski done?
Thank you.
Come on. Look at the record he had in Cleveland. And you can't say, well, it wasn't his fault. It's the GM's fault. Well, the GM still has a job. GM still has a job in Buffalo, but the GM's the guy who's supposed to get all the players.
Mm-hmm.
His drafting has been atrocious, and his free agent signings have been atrocious. But gets thrown on the coach.
I totally agree with you. Ryan Clark on one of the morning shows said, so you're going to hire a coach who failed somebody somewhere else, like Stefanski, like Harbaugh. Those guys failed, and
Harbaugh didn't fail. He goes to the playoffs every year.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to fire him, the guy going to the playoffs? But right now, what Buffalo has in terms of a pool of candidates are guys that have failed or guys who have never proven they can be as good as Rick Dermott.
Hot name is there, and I personally like him, but he failed. Brian Daboll, because he had great success with Josh Allen when Josh came into the league. He was his offensive coordinator. And maybe the second go around, he'll be better than he was in New York. But the fact is, he's got no track record.
Mm-hmm. He has no track record.
To me, it's ridiculous. If you got a strong pool,
right?
You got a pool like similar to last year, different story.
Exactly.
You don't have that pool this year. And so I don't. And how about there's 9 freaking jobs available? And then actually, we should be cheering because all these clown teams are going to hire new coaches, and 70% of them are going to fail.
What do you think of the Green Bay Packers extending Matt LaFleur?
It's the only choice they had. Same thing with them. Who are they going to get any better?
They could have potentially promoted their defensive coordinator, who looks like he might be getting a head coaching job somewhere else.
Yeah, but they probably want an offensive-minded coach.
For Jordan Love's sake?
Yeah, and in fairness to their defensive coordinator, Hafley, he's been a head coach, just not in the National Football League.
Mm-hmm.
He's a head coach at Boston College. So he has worn a head coach hat. But all in all, you look at the names, and I scratch my head. I don't go, what the hell are these owners thinking that, you make a change like that? And part of it's probably in Buffalo, they're moving into the new stadium, so they want a new beginning. But when they fall flat on their face, and that team stunk before Sean McDermott took over. There were years and years and years of futility since Marv Levy left. So it goes way back. And this guy gets some instant success. I think the first year he didn't make the playoffs, and he's made the playoffs every year since. Won 5 division championships. Well, we're going to fire you because you can't win the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking idiotic.
Indeed.
Like I say, you better have somebody better.
Yeah. What the last thought, and then we'll get to Bears talk, because I know a few people are saying, let's talk Bears. We'll talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about, all right?
No, I mean, it's if Ben keeps losing in the second round of the playoffs, the idiot fans here will be saying the same thing.
Yeah, everybody's got an opinion. They're like assholes, right? Everybody's got one.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Josh Allen, is he part of the problem in Buffalo?
I can't say that. The guy's so freaking talented. He's got a bunch of number 2 and number 3 receivers to throw to.
But he had open receivers too. You posted something on X yesterday. The Bills lost because of the rotten way they handled the end of the first half. It was a clown show.
Oh,
I'm paraphrasing. Can you fill me in more? Because I missed the end of the first half.
Well, Josh scrambled and fumbled the ball, gave them the.
I did see that.
Okay, then they had they had like 2 turnovers in the last minute and a half, and Denver got points off all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do have to say this about Josh Allen. He has just not learned his lesson. He is reckless with the ball. He continually makes big-time mistakes in big-time moments. I think he's 0 for 6, 0 for 7 in playoff games. Or I don't know.
No, he's won a lot of playoff games.
Okay,
but he doesn't get. He's gotten to the championship game. But the last couple of years, he hasn't gotten that far.
Gotcha.
They won. They were underdogs last week in Jacksonville, beat Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
They were underdogs in Denver, outplayed Denver.
Mm-hmm.
With the Bears outplayed the Rams.
Yeah, indeed they did.
But
sure did.
And a couple of people tried to say, "Thought you said the weather was going to affect their quarterback." It did. He had his worst game of the year. 47% completions.
Indeed.
No touchdowns.
But also credit the defense. Credit the defense.
Their defense played good. Wasn't for their defense. Don't forget the clowns in LA were saying they're going to put 40 on the Bears. Well, what happened to that?
Yeah. All right, let's really dig into the Bears game yesterday. Let's start with Ben Johnson's first comments in the post-game press conference. I want to share the disappointment that he and the rest of the team had.
Disappointing result tonight. Our guys fought the entire way, just like they have all season long. I thought, this was very much like our team has been. And you got to give the Rams credit. Coach McVay does a phenomenal job. Coach Shula did a great job with their defense this week, and they ended up making a couple more plays than we did, and that's why ended up going into overtime, and they ended up coming out on top. And so, like I said, disappointing result. Our guys are feeling it right now. They all believed, man. They all believed all year long that we could find a way to win each and every week, and so it's disappointing like that. But I am proud of the group. It's a special group. I said that a few weeks ago. I believe that to my core. That when you're with a group of men for the last time in the locker room, and it's just not going to be the same going forward. That. I appreciate all of them, the men and the women, coaches, players, support staff, everybody that had a role this season. It was a special year, and this will be hopefully a feeling in this locker room that we won't forget, and we'll be able to use it as fuel going forward. But
your thoughts on his comments there, Greg?
Excuse me. First thought, as I thought, his demeanor was totally different from other losses.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like the season's over, so I'm going to reflect on the whole season, not reflect on today.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I kind of like that because fact of the matter is, you can be disappointed about yesterday. But this team far surpassed any expectations any of us had 4 months ago. Okay, especially starting out 0-2. I kept saying, hey, I'm going to be happy with 9 wins.
Yeah.
Well, they got a lot more than 9 wins.
Yeah.
They won the division, 2nd seed, won a playoff game. The team is going to keep better, but I understand, and Cole Kmet had it in one of his. They were talking to him in the locker room too, and Ben alleviated to it. Cole alleviated to it. it said this was a special group of guys. And the fact of the matter is 25% of those guys or more will not be in that locker room next year. That's a fact of life in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. So, it's a whole new team next year. Yeah, granted, the core pieces are going to be there, but you're going to have a lot of new players, and you're going to have a lot of players that were there this year, players that had success. They're just not going to be part of the team because, number one, you might not be able to afford them. They're free agents. They get traded, whatever. So it's not like the National Football League when I first came into the league, when the team you had is the team you kept. Mm-hmm. There was no free agency or anything like that, but now there is. And so you've got a huge turnover. And what's even worse than the pros is college. College has like a 40% with the portal and NIL. It's like you're on a 1-year contract and then find your own school.
Yeah, and if you enter the portal, I just learned this weekend. If you enter the portal and then don't sign with another team before the deadline, then you have to sit out the season unless the team.
I don't think, no, you don't have to sign. You can't enter the portal after yesterday, I think.
Well,
you can go to another school next year.
What I understood is that if you have not signed at the end of this portal transfer period, then unless the team that you were with takes you back, you're out of luck. You got to sit out.
I double check that. I don't think that's true. There's thousands and thousands of players that are okay. They can still go to other schools. They can't. They're still quote free agents. Mm-hmm. They can't make official visits, so it's on their own. Mm-hmm. But they can still go to another school. Now, what they have done, there's a way around the portal, and actually, Notre Dame did it with their punter. Their punter finished a semester at Purdue and withdrew from school.
Oh wow!
And then transferred to Notre Dame, enrolled at Notre Dame. After he was enrolled at Notre Dame, they announced that he came in. Never went through the portal. And there was nothing wrong with what he did. Totally legal.
And this whole portal thing needs fixing.
And then if the guy's a grad transfer, he can do whatever the hell he wants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. All right, I'm collecting questions, J2K. I just put yours in the queue, but let us continue here. Greg just mentioned what Cole Kmet said, and I want to play that for people because I think this is a really excellent soundbite that Greg pointed out. Listen or watch Cole's reaction as the reporter is asking a question about next year, and you could see it in his face. He's what's registering in his face is exactly what Greg was talking about. Here it comes.
Do you think about? I know you said there will be changes, but the core of this team, with Caleb coming back, and a lot to build off from this season. I'm sure.
Yeah, I understand, but the work we put in is for this year, not for next year. Next year's, when we take our time off here and you reset and the team of what it's going to be next year settles in for itself, it starts all over again, and it's 0-0, and it's going to be twice as hard to get to this point, and you can't take for granted the opportunities you get in this league to get to this chance and to have an opportunity to go to the NFC Championship game, and then who knows from there. But to just think that it's just going to happen again, that's very wishful thinking, very wishful. And we play in a tough division, and I know we won the division, but we also went 2-4 in the division this year, and those teams are going to come back hungry, and it's just that much harder. And so that's why it hurts when you have the opportunity now, and you just come up a little short. It stinks because there's a lot of work that has to be done to get to this point.
He totally captures it. This is it, guys.
He gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one comment somebody put in there. He knows he's not going to be here. I don't believe that at all. I think he's an integral part of this team. He's a very important part of this team.
Because of the 12 formation, the 2 tight end formation.
They were playing so much 3 tight ends.
Yeah.
The last few games, He's the best blocker they got at the tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
Loveland didn't play. Nobody talks about it. Loveland didn't play the last 3 series. He got hurt, and I don't even know what the hell the injury was. You saw
concussion.
Oh, was it a concussion?
Yeah.
Because I didn't hear that because he kind of stumbled off. I thought he might have hurt his ribs or something, but he was out of the game, and that that was a huge loss for Caleb and for the offense. But who makes the catch to keep the game going? Cole Kmet.
Yeah, Cole Kmet is an incredibly valuable piece. I for any fan at this point of the season to just dismiss him and say, trade him or whatever. And I see more fans are saying keep Cole. Cole is a big part of the offense. You guys, I agree with you guys more.
And I think we ought to have this as a mantra going forward, at least for the season. Last year, right after Ben Johnson got hired, which was about a year ago today, if you look at, according to the day after the division playoffs, Swift isn't going to be here. Who was the leading rusher? Swift. Okay. Don't give me your BS that so-and-so's not going to be here, so-and-so's not going to be here, because it ain't your decision, and you don't know. And I don't know, and Aldo doesn't know. Nobody in the media knows. They're going to sit down, what's going to happen at Hallis Hall, and, excuse me, they may do things differently than the way we did it, but you're going to have meetings, positional meetings. You're going to go over your position. You're going to, who do you want? Who don't you want? Who's got a good future? Who do you think is expendable? You go through that, and then you start making your plans for next year. And none of that has been determined yet. Yeah, fans, DJ, he's going to get traded. So-and-so is going to get traded. So, bullshit.
Yeah. We definitely don't know. But fans, like Tired, I just missed his name. Some of the fans are saying fans love to speculate and play GM, fantasy football, whatever. And so when people say trade this guy, that's just speculation. It's fan fun kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I live in reality.
Well, because you've been employed by a professional organization for decades.
I spent too much time doing it for my living to play fantasy games. This isn't Madden. It isn't fantasy football. It's real life.
Yeah, but Greg, there's a saying in show business, know your audience, so don't dismiss them, because then we have no show if nobody's watching.
No, I get that, but what I don't like and I get impatient with is really kind of dumb comments.
No, I hear you. I do too. I totally hear you. And it's so, one of the things, Greg, that you've taught me and us doing our show together over the years is that we should be a little bit more sensitive when we're talking about somebody's job, when we're talking about somebody's livelihood. Oh, fuck that guy. Oh, fuck that. Montez Sweat sucks. We don't know what Montez Sweat has been playing through in terms of injuries. If we knew, we might be fucking giving him a trophy as opposed to speculating that he should be traded.
There are a lot of people pissing and moaning about Roma Dunze.
Go ahead. Okay.
Roma's been playing with a freaking broken foot. Do you know how much pain that is?
Yes.
Probably had to get a shot in his foot every week and every day just to freaking practice.
Yep. And
he's gotten through it.
Yeah. I know J2K, I think it was on last week's show, one of the shows, he talked about that's the injury he has is similar to the David Terrell fracture. Do you know anything about that?
It depends what it is. David Terrell had it was a fifth metatarsal.
Okay.
It's a bad bone to break if you're a DB or a wide receiver, because a lot of times they pin it and it doesn't work, it re-breaks, and then you get. So I don't think that Rome had a fifth metatarsal. I think he had a hairline fracture. Whether it was the fifth metatarsal, I have no idea. But if it is the fifth metatarsal, then it can be problematic.
Yeah, absolutely. And so hopefully, he's going to rehab, or do you think he might need surgery on that thing?
I mean, I don't know. You'll find out soon enough.
Yeah. All right.
But even if he does, I mean, it's not going to preclude him from anything. This is January. The offseason program doesn't start till April.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to play Grady Jarrett because a lot of fans are upset with him, saying we should have never signed him and so forth. And I think by the end of the season, he proved his weight in gold. These were his closing comments last night.
And we're still processing it, definitely proud of the way how far we come in the season. But on the other hand of it, we want to be playing next week, and we put our best foot forward. So at the end of the day, all we can do is apply the things that we learned this season to each of our lives collectively and see where that takes us, man. But I mean, I'll be remiss to say how proud I am of this team. Nobody gave us a chance from the start to even make it this far, to make it to 11 wins, to make it to division champs. I mean, and LA been favored all year to win the championship. So I mean, I think at the end of the day, the thing go our way. We got a lot of favor in our way, so we can go try to win a championship. So, I mean, it's just the beginning for this program, and I'm super excited to be a part of it. And I can't continue to go without saying how proud I am of my teammates.
That's another reason why that guy is going to be back next year. Ben Johnson has talked religiously about the leadership, the veteran leadership in that locker room, and Grady was one of the leaders of the leaders. The guy is
and they take to cut him, they take a huge cap hit next year.
Mm-hmm.
They got to keep him one more year, and that's just facts of life.
Yeah,
and the Bears got to do some shuffling with some money. Because right now they don't have much. I'll tell you what the projected cap is right now. And we don't know what the official cap number is going to be.
Right. We don't know that yet.
Right now, projected, they're over the cap by $4.3 million.
Oof.
I'm looking at OTC right now.
And they still don't have the 53-man roster. I mean,
right.
How many guys?
That's with what's under contract
40,
right now.
47 guys or something like that. So yeah,
I don't know. And you got dead money. You got Zach Pickens, $297,000, Tyler Scott, $165,000, and that's it. So $540,000 of dead money, and which is pretty good. There will be more.
Yeah.
Guys like Braxton, Jones, and a couple guys on the offensive line, they're done with Bates, Ryan Bates. Contracts are up. They aren't going to be around. And somebody's going to replace him. People say, we're going to have to draft another left tackle. Well, I don't think so. And I think yesterday proved that, because you can play Tooney out there at left tackle until Ozzy's ready to play. Or, and the reason they didn't want to put Theo there is because he was going against Verse. So had it not been Verse, Theo probably would have played.
Yeah.
And so, I think they're good at that point. And then Amagaji, inside the building, they like Amagaji, but he's got to get through a training camp.
He's got to stay healthy.
Yeah. He's got to get through a training camp. So we'll see. I'll tell you, the guy who ends up playing guard yesterday played pretty damn good.
Oh my God, Jordan McFadden had a phenomenal game. Phenomenal.
Really well. And and I thought it might be Luke Newman playing, but Luke played when Jackson got hurt in one game. Luke played the right side,
right.
And sometimes they didn't want to do the switch, even though Luke played left guard at Michigan State. But people, I got a lot of questions before the game. Well, how are they doing that? They're weakening two positions. So I watched that game. I think they strengthened it. They played pretty damn good. Okay, I'm not going to question the coaching staff. For the most part, everything they have done has been right on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to thank Maddie for the $2 donation. I also just want to go back to something you said to make sure I heard it right. Would you be comfortable if the team started Joe Thuney at left tackle for the 2026 season?
Until Ozzy's ready to go. Now, I talked to a doctor last week.
Okay.
And he said it's a minimum 6. Best case scenario is 6. So, best case scenario, 6 months. He already had the surgery. We're talking best case scenario is he's available 2 weeks before camp starts. Okay. And now, that it could go to 8 months. He might have to be a PUP guy and miss the first 6 games. We don't know. And the reason being is every surgery is different. Of course, I've said this before, but it's the truth. When's the last time you saw a surgery done and the surgeon came out and said it wasn't a success? Great surgery. It's, I can use myself because I've had so many damn surgeries, especially I've had a dozen orthopedic surgeries. I'm a scar. And so I form a lot of scar tissue wherever I have scar tissue. I had a knee replacement done in 2020. And 6 weeks after the surgery, I could only bend my knee it was like stuck at about 107 degrees. And part of that is because there's scar tissue in there. So they had to do what they call as a manipulation. They put you out. A manipulation lasts about 90 seconds, but they put you out and then take your knee and go and tear the scar tissue. You wake up and you're fine. And, but they tell you, okay, now you got to be at rehab by 2:00 because they don't want it to tighten up again, but you got to tear the scar tissue. That's what happens with me. Could it happen with Ozzy? It might be the first time he had surgery. We don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, right.
So, and that could cause complications in rehab. So, like I say, best case scenario is 6 months. Might be safer saying 7 to 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
But, we'll find out. The kid from Ohio State, who the Chiefs drafted in the first round, he did it 2 months earlier. I think it was in October. He was he was going in training camp. So if you use that as an example, Ozzy might miss a few games, but he sure as hell not going to miss half the season unless he's got complications. And we'll find that out down the road.
Greg, I'm going to shift gears here because I want to talk about the play that most fans are talking about, and that was the third final interception that Caleb threw. Let us first play the play and what was said about it afterwards. Let me find it here. It is right here. That is the all 22 of it, but I thought I had a soundbite of them talking about. I guess not. So, in any case, let's take a look at
the down and distance was on that.
Geez, I can find out. Anybody in the chat know?
I don't remember.
Let me see.
But I know it wasn't third or fourth.
No, it wasn't.
So it was first or second down.
So let's go here. Box score. Play by play, and it was oh, that's the wrong one.
No, it's not important. Just that if it
was, I got it. It is. It was 2nd and 8.
Okay.
Yeah, 2nd and.
So the idea is to get a field goal and keep the change moving, get in line place to kick a field goal and win the game.
Right. So here's the play. All 22. We can. We were muted there while we were talking, so that makes it a little difficult. Let me play it again and unmute.
But wide open, you got about 6 yards minimum.
Can you repeat that, Greg? I had a technical.
Kmet was wide open as a check down, and you got 6-7 yards minimum. And then you got a 3rd and short. And you might even get the first because he's tough to bring down. Okay, it looks as if, and Ben would have to attest to this, that either DJ did not finish his route or ran the wrong route. Okay, and that's why the pick was thrown. I don't think the pick goes on to Caleb at all. But in my way of thinking of what the situation is, you don't want to put the ball in harm's way, and so you throw to Cole Kmet, you get the easy yards, live to play another down. But, I get it. Caleb's got the mindset, the home run mindset, and hell, he did it to tie the game on 4th down.
Now, we'll talk about that play briefly. So a lot of people are saying that it was a bad throw by Caleb. Do you agree with that?
On this last play?
Yes.
No, I think it was a bad route or a wrong route by DJ.
But you're saying that the mistake on Caleb's part was to take the check down with Cole as opposed to.
Yeah, I think that the check down was there right away.
Yeah.
I mean, boom, get the ball, get it out of your hand, move, change moving. Cole with the size probably picks up the first. You said it was 2nd and 6. He's getting the first.
Yeah. And I think, those are the things that we as Bears fans are going to have to live with as Caleb Williams is our quarterback. He's going to hit big plays, and we saw it all season long. And then sometimes he's going to go for that home run, and it's not going to hit.
Bite him in the ass.
Yeah, he's a gunslinger, and BJ's going to try to tame him a little bit, but we got to live with the great and the not so great. That's Caleb Williams, right? Is that a good analysis?
It's a fair statement, but experience will tell him. And he learned. Okay, essentially, this is his rookie year all over again. Yes, he played in the National Football League last year, but he played in a toy offense and wasn't taught anything. So this was the year where, he learned, and where he's got to discipline himself more to take what's there, especially given this game situation. We're in overtime. A field goal wins the game. We don't need a home run. We need to get 20 more yards to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that's a mindset he's got to learn. That'll come with experience. He's going to be that much better next year. He hasn't scratched the surface yet. You haven't seen anything yet what this kid can be.
Yeah.
And I think as he grows within the offense next year, is going to be a second year. He's got a lot more knowledge. They can put in some more wrinkles. The other players around him also got a lot more knowledge. And so it's just going to work that much better.
Yep, indeed. Let's listen to Caleb's comments immediately after the game, expressing his disappointment.
Yeah, it's tough, being in that locker room, the best moments is being in that locker room after games and after wins, and being with the guys that you all have a common goal. You all sacrifice family time, and things like that, and all that you sacrifice to be in this position, to be in those moments, and so it's tough, and so in these moments you feel that you let your team down, or you feel that you this or that, and it's a good lesson learned for us. First time being in this situation for me and for us as a team, and I'm excited for what's to come. But obviously, going to go back and watch this and figure out how I can be better, and that's the exciting part.
I'm so impressed with that young man. I mean, he has grown so much since training camp. I mean, since last year and the end of the season. You are so right. I so agree with you that this guy is special, and he's going to only improve, and he's going to be a great veteran, a great leader for this organization. So happy.
Well, you go to last week, and he's got that throw on 4th and 8 that he throws to Rome and gets the first down and keeps the drive alive to win the game. And then that throw yesterday was better. He throws that backing up, going backwards off his back foot.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
I don't know if you got that thing. I think he threw that ball 50 yards in the air.
Yeah, I do have it. This is the incredible 4th down and 4 with analysis from Ben Johnson and Caleb himself. Here it comes.
Kmet in motion. Williams drifting, sprinting for space, in all kinds of trouble, put it up for grabs in the end zone. Kmet! He got it! For the touchdown! They've done it again!
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I mean, you talk about that 4th and 8 from last week and how outstanding that was, and I think this one was probably even another level ahead of that. So there's some things that you just can't coach. He's got that about him. He's got a knack. He's clutch. He does so many good things. He's an eraser. I have plenty of bad calls each and every week, and he helps make it right for me. And I know he's feeling it because we didn't win and have some turnovers mixed in there, and he's feeling it. But he's one of those guys I'm talking about. We'll remember this feeling, and he's going to be stronger for it.
I end up getting a little bit pressure, and so try and break contain and just break angles and slow those guys down so that when I do turn around, I can have a little bit more time possibly to be able to find somebody. And they did a good job containing me, and so I just gained a little bit more depth. And I saw Cole one-on-one over there with everybody else on the other side, at least near the goalpost. I understanding that 14 was on him. He's a little bit smaller guy, and Cole's obviously a 6 foot tight end and things like that. So I just wanted to give him my best ball and give him a shot. Understand it's 4th down and kind of game on the line. Was game on the line.
Greg, let me add to that Cole's reaction to that play. This is funny.
It just felt like a pop fly in center field. And a lot of those DBs have a tough time tracking. I don't know what happened to the guy kind of guarding me a little bit, but it just felt like a pat and go situation that we do every Friday, and it felt like a pretty easy pitch and catch, and kind of felt like it was in slow motion. Can't believe Caleb again. I mean, just some nutty throws that he can make, but I was obviously glad to send it in overtime there, but sucks to come up short.
Okay, that was 47. That was 47 yards in the air. Threw it from the 41, going backwards off his back foot.
Yeah, with no follow through, as one of the guys said.
The arm strength that he needed to make that throw is unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what King Booker World is saying. That's like when we were kids and playing these old video games, and you would immediately try to get Bo Jackson on your team because the video game was geared for him to do incredible stuff. Now, Caleb is the Bo Jackson. He just does things that the video game is saying, all right, let's do tremendous things.
Well, that was Sandlot. That was Sandlot football.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good analogy too. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just that was improvised, and the chances of making that throw were about 2%, and that might be high, but he made it.
Yes. Yeah, I shot video of my stepdaughter going, no, yes! It was one of those situations.
I just want to say this. We're disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a fun year. And it's, hey guys, it ain't getting worse, it's getting better.
Yeah, that's right.
And now it's up to Ryan, along with Ben, to make the changes that they feel they need to make. And I'm not going to question him, because he did, once he got Ben in here, most of the moves he made were right on. So between the draft and free agency, you got to make the right moves. You get the money's going to be tight. We've already said that. And you got guys you got to take care of. You don't have a safety under contract next year. You got to get some safeties under contract.
Yep.
Or you're going to have to draft one, but you're going to have to, the defensive line needs to improve. Okay, so you either got to go to free agency or the draft. And right now, they don't have any money.
Mm-hmm. Right. They don't have any money. The other thing, that I liked about yesterday, now, unfortunately, one of the guys might not be on the team, is Jaquan Brisker had a sensational game yesterday.
Might have been his best game as a Bear.
And Kyler Gordon also had a sensational game yesterday. So it was great to see Ryan Poe's first two draft picks deliver.
Yeah, and Kyler had another week of practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad there's not another week that he could be even better. But that's and now he's got to stay healthy during the offseason and get himself in an opportune shape. And the same with Jalen. Jalen's got to get himself in real good shape. He's going to have that full off season now to recover from the surgery he had. He's probably 70% these last few games. Tyreek Stevenson came up with some plays yesterday, played pretty good. So the arrow's going up.
Yep.
And a couple a-holes from Green Bay said, "See, you lost." Ha ha ha. I just said, "Yeah, you were sitting your ass home, man."
That's right.
What are you flapping your jaws for? And it's going to be a long time. This team ain't going to get beat by those teams for a while.
That's right. Totally agree. I want to spend a little bit more time on Jaquan because I got the sense that he was expressing this was going to be his last game with the Chicago Bears. Let's listen to his locker room interview with the media. It's about a minute and a half, so it's a little long.
Yeah, it hurt so bad. I give it all I got. I know my teammates did too. I know we worked so hard for this, to get it here, play a home game in Chicago. And it stung. We took in the overtime, got that stop. I felt like it was, I was going to change the game, but it didn't. And then obviously when the field goal went through the uprights, that was tough. And then this group's not going to be here again. These teammates, we're all not going to be here again. So the team's going to look different, and it's sad because this was a special group. And, I really care about my teammates and my coaches and things like that. I care about this city, and who knows what's next.
Will there be a point that you look at the season and say, "Man, we did some good here"? I mean, I know it hurts now, but it's well beyond anybody's expectations.
Yeah. We won the NFC North. Tried to get the number 1 seed, end up being number 2 seed. Got a couple home games here. Like you said, no one expected us to be here, but we did. And we could hang our heads up high, but the losing part is tough, and obviously the splitting part is going to be tough. So,
what's next for you? You going to be here?
We will see. Hopefully I am, but if not, the grass is greener. God has my back.
Your desire is to be here, though, as long as you possibly can be.
For sure. Whoever, if they want me here, or whatever the case may be, but I trust in God, so I know it happened.
What do you think of what he just said there, Greg?
I think he's being a realist. He doesn't know the answer.
Right.
And there probably haven't been any discussions yet. And so it's he's a free agent in another 2 months.
All right.
So you either re-sign him before that or you let him hit free agency.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the other 3 safeties. And Gardner Johnson. He's only signed through the year. There's a bunch of guys, and Nashawn Wright, he's a free agent.
Right. I don't think Nashawn will be back, but just because he's going to hit free agency and somebody's going to pay him and maybe overpay him because of what he did with turnovers this season.
You could be right, but he's got really just this season as a track record.
Correct.
So does somebody really go crazy?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, we gotta take into account what the cornerback looks like in the draft and free agency to make a really informed opinion on this.
Yeah, right? You keep saying, well, we can go to the draft. Well, traditionally, you can get safeties who can play on day 3, late in day 2, but that doesn't mean you're gonna. You got to. I say this all the time, and I preach it all the time. You got to do it. Follow the process. And the process first is free agency. Who you're going to lose versus who you're going to gain. And after you're done with that part, then you get into the draft.
Yeah.
And this year, it's, last year they had money. It wasn't an issue. This year, they got to make up some money. They got to figure out where they're going to get money.
Yeah, it's going to take some clever manipulation of the salary cap.
Again, we don't know what the numbers up there now are the anticipated cap. I know the other one, Spotrac, says the Bears are $4 million to the positive, and over the cap says $4 million to the negative. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But again, and there's people you got to pay. And don't forget, a year from now, so after the season ends, the 2026 season ends, Caleb you can start to think about doing Caleb.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Yeah. And you don't have to, but you can. And you've got to do right. You got to do, you got a bunch of people you got to take care of.
Tons. And so that's why, as the weeks go on,
Dexter has got one more year left.
Yeah. As the weeks go on, you and I can talk more informed about this. So talking about it now is just guesswork, right?
Right.
Okay. So with that, I'll
say this though, Aldo.
Sure thing.
Regardless of what happens, you're going to get people pissed off and some people happy because that's just, the way it is. Yeah. But these people do this for a living.
Yeah.
They got the tape. They know the coaches know who they want back. And they know how guys practice. They know what the upside is. And those guys, they're going to stand on the table for.
Yep.
And so you can assume those guys are going to be back. But you just got to. This is the first time in a long time that the Bears have hit the situation where they got to be careful with the money. And yes, there's a million ways you can manipulate the cap. There's a bunch of contracts that you can restructure, excuse me, to create money. But I think the idea of bringing in an expensive defensive end in free agency or trade, I think that's crazy. It's just, I just don't see the money being there to do it.
Yeah. Now, what are your thoughts on Jaquan Brisker? Because people in the chat, some are blasting him, some are saying, it's his last year in the contract, bring him back, blah, blah, blah. What's your thoughts on Dexter?
He's not a big, he does his job, but he's not a big playmaker, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure does. Sure.
And so he's good. He's not great. You would expect that by now in his third year, he'd be more of a playmaker.
Yep. That was my hope for him this season. Yes.
And so that part. So is he a guy that you're going to want to go overboard to try to re-sign a year from now? And I would say, based on what we've seen so far, I'd say no, which tells me that, in the draft, interior defensive line is going to be a primary focus. And everybody's going to say, well, you got to get an edge. And they do. But don't forget, they started to move Shamar Turner to the edge. He was looking good, and then he tore his ACL. So he's going to be back and probably 20 pounds lighter because he's going to be playing outside. And so, again, it's going to be, what do they think of him at that position? Booker's going to be back. You know, if you look at the praise Booker has got over the last 2 months of how they really like the way he's coming, and he is going to get bigger and better. There was a play yesterday where I think Collinsworth, who was just awful as an analyst, they said, well, the Rams thought they could run on him. And there was one play where he just stuffed the offensive tackle, threw him on his ass, made the play for a loss. And, you know, it's like this guy is so much stronger than the way he looks.
Yeah. I agree. Well, why am I hearing an echo?
I don't know. I'm going to say one thing, though. Sure. You aren't going to hear a negative thing out of my mouth right now because it's just, you know, I'm happy with the way the season went. The negative is we're not playing next week, but that is what it is, you know. But from where this team was a year ago, from where this team was after 2 weeks of the season, whew,
I totally agree with that. And let me add this. This is from Jalen Johnson, and it's such an appropriate quote, a soundbite for us to play based on what you just said. Here it comes.
Same as always is. I mean, work. I mean, I put in a ton of work. I do the right things. That's it. I mean, I'm not going to change anything.
I know you're always confident. What will your confidence be like, you think, heading into next season, knowing what you guys just did this year? It's got to be, I imagine, higher than it's ever been, maybe.
I mean, it's going to be a new team. It's going to be a new year, new team, new roster. We'll see what it looks like. But, I mean, ultimately, we got to come in hungry, come in confident, and we got to go to work. I mean, when you have a season like this, when you have so much fun throughout the season, when you win so many games, I mean, you can't let all that go to waste after one, I'm not going to say one loss, but one season-ending loss. I think you just take time to reflect and decide, man, we've had a hell of a ride, and each man individually has had a hell of a ride. So, I mean, when you just really look back, you can really just be thankful and have a lot of gratitude for what this season has done and how we've grown as men and grown as a team.
Greg, that really hit my heart because, you know, I know we don't hand out participation trophies here, but I hate it when people get so disappointed, especially after a great season. And you have to reflect and look back at all the joy we've gotten as fans. And like Jalen is saying, there's going to be a time where they're going to look back at this season and say, guys, we fucking did something incredible here in Chicago. And that warms my heart.
I agree with you. And I think he was basically saying that.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Ben, you know, you go in Ben's presser yesterday, he pretty much said the same thing too. You know, and more positive than negative. We've seen him in pressers after a loss, and he looks like he wants to rip somebody's head off. He's got a sour puss. He didn't have that yesterday.
Right.
You know, and he knows this team has come a long way. He knows it's going to be that much better next year, but they got work to do. And that work, you know, literally starts today. There was no day off. You know, you got all-star games coming up. You know, the Shrine Bowl, most players report the middle of the week. And then the Senior Bowl report over the weekend. You got those games next week. Then you got the Combine. Then you got free agency. Hey, work's just starting. From my end of the business, now we're getting into the busy time.
That's right. That's right. You thought you were busy before, Greg. No.
I was telling that to people the other day. I said, no, for people in my side of the business, now we're getting busy. You know, all these people go, oh, I'm going to go to Florida and play golf. I never could do that.
Yeah. All right. I've collected about 10 thoughts or questions that I want to share with Greg. If you have any more, let me tell you who is on here. It's Caesar, it's Shorty, it's J2K, it's Ralph, it's Brandon, it's Florida Bears fan, another one from J2K, and Samuel. If you didn't hear your name mentioned, then please post your question again. And if you could please write at Barroom Network or send us money, that way it'll be easier for me to start. So Caesar's going to start us off, and he is asking, should Ben Johnson change that fourth down mentality? It's a good question.
I think part of that fourth down mentality this year was based on he wasn't sold that the defense could stop people. And so, yeah, in another year, if they chore up the defense, now it turned out the defense probably played their best game in 3 months, 2.5 months yesterday. They played pretty good.
Yeah.
But you go over to the week before, he knew he couldn't trust him. So I got to go for it. So I think it depends on what I think the fair answer is what are the circumstances of this team at that given time.
Okay. And a lot of people are agreeing with what you just said. We could see with this an improved defense, and I am almost certain we're going to see a better defense next season if the injury gods are good to us. I truly believe that a lot of people are criticizing Deo and say that was a bad signing. We don't know that for sure.
The coaches go back, dug to the coaches, and they loved him. They thought he was doing everything they wanted him to do. And they lost two key parts of the defensive line between Deo and Shamar Turner.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
And those guys will be back next year.
Yeah. So it's I just think that this defense is going to be better next year. And so therefore Ben's reliance for going for it on fourth down is going to be a bit more tempered, to Greg's point. All right, we move on to the next question. This is from my man Shorty. He says, shouldn't the Bears have run the ball more? Too many first and second down passes last night, and Swift was running the ball well. Your thoughts on the play calling yesterday?
I'm not calling the plays, and I'm not trying to walk away from the question. They look at tendencies. Play calling is done on tendencies of what a defense does. And there were some good runs, but there were also some short yardage runs that got stuffed, and probably a half a dozen of them, and some of them for loss. So, I'm not going to second guess the way that guy calls a game, because for the most part, he calls a pretty damn good game.
Well, and he himself has said, I don't call a perfect game, and Caleb is a great quarterback to have because he corrects with his ability. He makes things a bad play call he can make into something. But yeah, I agree with you. Being critical of Ben Johnson's play calling is, we got to give him the benefit of the doubt, just like what you said. I'm repeating what you said. So.
It's so easy to second guess after the fact.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't have the information that we don't have, the information that they have going in to a game and preparing a game plan.
Yeah. I will say this, unlike past games, there was never a point in yesterday's game where I thought, man, what a terrible play call that I can remember anyways. So having said that, let's move on to the next question. This is from our man J2K. He says, Greg, do you put any blame on wide receiver coach Antoine Randall L for the poor routes, missed assignments, and dropped passes?
Drop passes, no. Theoretically, you could put some on, for at this point of the year, that was the 19th game of the year, between the regular season. So you shouldn't have that. At the same time, and this is not an excuse, it's still a new offense to these people, first year in it, and they put in new wrinkles literally every week. So you're going to have guys make mistakes. A lot of those mistakes you're not going to see next year because it's going to be in the second year of the system. But, I think Randall L as a whole has a reputation of being a very good wide receiver coach. Do I want to replace him? Hell no.
Yeah. Right.
So Bieniemy is right now. Bieniemy is, yes, Kansas. Well, I've heard two things, and this is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think Nagy's getting one of these head coaching jobs, but Kansas City has already put in a request to talk to Bieniemy because he's already held that OC job in Kansas City before. So that's a likely guy to turn to. That doesn't mean he's going to take it, but it's the other thing I've heard is that KC was going to make a change anyway. So it's like, Nagy, you better get a job, otherwise.
I love it. I had not heard that. It makes sense.
In all honesty,
uh-huh.
And this goes back to after we won the Super Bowl. It was like, because there wasn't a lot of love lost between Ron Rivera and Lovey for whatever reason. And it was like, Ron, you better get one of those jobs because you ain't going to be here. And, right after that game, 2 days later, Ron Rivera didn't have a job. Now, 2 hours later, he had a job.
Yeah.
It didn't take one. But, it could be a situation similar to that. Who knows? Who knows what's going on at somebody else's club? But now, does Bieniemy want to go back to where he was, where you're the coordinator, but you're not? You got the title, but you're not the coordinator. Andy Reid's the coordinator. Andy Reid calls the plays. Even though it's a better title, is the situation better here? Is he appreciated more here than he was there?
That means a lot.
Yeah, that's a decision he's got to make.
Right.
And you can always, you got to give him an extra $400,000 or $500,000. Do you want to keep him? Give him an extra $400,000 or $500,000.
A lot of money, Greg.
As compared to what? Yeah, but you want to lose him or do you want to keep him?
Yeah, that's his call. So, by the way, Brandon, I apologize. You put this up 45 minutes ago and I missed it somehow. Brandon, our very generous Brandon, always, he sent us tons of stuff and he sends us another $5. He says, great season, great content, pleasure spending it with the bar room. Greg, can you baptize some of the assholes in this chat and also can you block them?
No, I get it. People are going to complain. I don't have to agree with them. And I'm not going to agree with a lot of them, but they're entitled to their opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed.
And that's great. I mean, if if I'm really against an opinion, I'll say so. I mean, I'm never one who's not going to hold back the words. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. J2K says that he's hearing Al Harris doesn't want to leave and that his gut tells him a lot of coaches want to stay another year to see this through. In your experience working in the NFL, have you seen coaches, position coaches and stuff say, man, I really like it here. My family loves the school system, the house that we're living in. I'll bypass $1 million and stay with the Chicago Bears for at least another year.
If he gets offered a coordinator's job,
he's going to go.
Yeah, because that would be different than a Bieniemy going to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Okay, where let's just hypothetically, people think, well, he coached up in Green Bay, so he might get picked for Green Bay. Well, he might get picked to interview, but that doesn't mean he's going to get the job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so interviewing does not equal employment. And he's never been a coordinator. Is he capable of being a coordinator, or is he a real good position coach? I don't have the answer to that to really know. I don't know the man.
Yeah. Thank you, Willie Wall, for the $10 donation. And he just bought a super sticker, which is very nice of you. And by the way, I have to put this back up. J2K says, that's the wrong one. J2K says, I love Greg's quote, stupid people make stupid arguments. I gotta find that and put that in the new open for next season.
We gotta do it. We got a new opening. You did a couple side openings earlier this year, and they were outstanding.
Thank you. I'm gonna do a new
the
one.
We got is getting a little stale.
I agree.
And so I think, especially after the season, that
we'll have one for next week's show. How's that? We'll look back at the season and have some fun with it. All right, we still got a bunch of more questions here. Let's get through some of these. Ralph Love says, has the NFL caught up to Ben Johnson? That's Ralph's concern. Your thoughts?
No.
Yeah,
because these guys are they're ever evolving. These good coaches never stop evolving.
Mm-hmm.
They're always looking for new twists and turns to get better. They review. I tell you what, one thing they're going to do. Some people that it's the off season. Well, the coaches will start getting into the draft process after they finish up the the review of their own players. But the other thing that they do, they spend a considerable amount of time is they go over the whole season. Play by play. What worked, what didn't work, what are we going to throw out? What were bad calls? What were good calls given the circumstances? They study all that stuff. And a lot of fans don't know that, but they're really meticulous about the review of how, the plays that were called, the situations that they were called in, etc. And they will eliminate some things from the offense just because, they might have maybe 3 or 4 times you used a play and all 3 or 4 times it didn't work.
Yep.
In a situation. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that fans really have no idea goes on.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing is this was Ben's first year handling the play calling and head coaching an entire team. He's going to get better. I love what Emmanuel Acho says, and I don't always agree with Emmanuel Acho, but he made a brilliant point on his show recently. He says, what we're seeing this year is the worst of Ben Johnson, the worst of Caleb Williams, the worst of Kyle Monangai, the worst of Rome Odunze, the worst of Coastal Loveland, the worst on and on and on with all these young players.
I agree with that.
His point being, these guys are only going to get better. So when Bleed Detroit 313 says Detroit will take the division back next year, I don't know, Mr. Detroit fan. That doesn't look good for you guys. This team's only going to get better.
He had a chance to hire a coordinator and he failed. He knew he failed a quarter way into the season.
maybe earlier than that, but he didn't make the move.
Okay, so now he's got to do it again.
Yeah.
And part of what they were doing this year was Ben's system. Chances are that's going out the window. And it's going to be a whole new system.
Yeah.
And they got to have changes too. I don't know what their money situation. Let's take a look and see what Detroit is right now. They might be better off than we are, for all I know.
While you're doing that, I am going. What do you got? What's so funny?
Detroit 16.6 over.
Over. Goodbye. Who's going? Who would be most likely to go? David Montgomery, I bet you's gone.
Oh, I've already heard that one that he's probably going to be gone. Yeah, they got to get rid of people, and Taylor Decker may retire, and that's going to save them some money, but also going to cost them some money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there. If he's cut. There's 11 million cap save, 11.6 million cap savings, but dead money of 9.4 million, and he may retire. So who the hell knows what's going to happen? But good teams that are paying out money got cap situations that they got to take care of. I know Buffalo's got about 12, 13 over. They're over every year. New Orleans, who sucks, they're over every year. Mickey Lou praised all the time. but his cap situation has been horrendous for 10 years.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons his team sucks.
Mm-hmm. I will give the Lions and GM Brad Holmes credit for it. They draft well. So
Yes,
they
they
could
do.
potentially replace some of the superstars that will be leaving because of money. So that's one thing they've got in their favor. All right, Greg, I want to just ask you this. It's 12:23 now. We've got tons still questions. Is it all right that we go to 1 p.m. so that we can get through some of these questions?
Yeah, close to it. Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, great. This is from Brandon.
Have to pay me another 1,000, but that's all right.
Exactly. All his money is going to Greg, by the way. Yeah. Greg, do you think that in this modern era, it's plausible to think that guys will stay or come here for less money for the chance to win? It's a great question. No, huh? They want the money. They want the money.
Out the money, because part of it is now. I shouldn't say no heart. But yeah, there are guys that want to go to a situation, but the money's got to be close.
Yeah.
Okay, and because they know they've got a limited career.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
if it's 500,000 or something, yeah, you might do it. If it's 2 million, you ain't doing it.
What about this scenario, Greg? Somebody has 20 million in the bank, and this is his last 2-3 years in the league. I really want a Super Bowl. What team is offering me a contract for next year that is close to being a Super Bowl winner? I'll go with the Bears and bypass the $1 or $2 million. Another.
It could happen. It has happened. It's got to be the right player. See, a player who does that has character up here. Okay, and perfect example, Reuben Brown.
Yeah, there you go.
Reuben took less money.
Right.
Reuben was like, hey, don't tell anybody. I do this for fucking nothing.
I remember you saying that, yes.
So it's you got to have the right type of mentality, the right player. Got to like the situation. Hypothetically, it's no, because part of it too is you got a competitiveness going on between agents. Okay, and agents, what goes on in the agent community is, and we got to get an agent on here again.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. This is time. They're busy now.
When they're recruiting,
yeah,
the other agents they could have got so and so X amount of dollars, and look at the contract they got them. So that works against some people.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe getting an agent in here sooner rather than later is better because they're going to be busy come February. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when you get to the combine there, everybody starts cheating once you get to the combine. And
that's right.
That's still 5 weeks away.
Yeah.
So 5.5 weeks away. So we got some time, but people are going to know. Like again, it'll be next month, sometime in February, before we know what the exact cap figure is. Now, remember I said, and this goes back probably in November, I said we'll probably learn in December what the borderline cap number is going to be. Well, guess what? It never came out because they never had the December meetings. They did the December meetings virtually. So there was nothing to be leaked. And so, could they still have that number? Yeah, but it didn't get leaked because, you didn't have the GMs and the owners and the cap people down in Dallas for 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's valuable information. Thank you, Greg. All right, J2K has a question. I think we've kind of addressed it, but let's pose it again here. Greg, with the defensive ends, Sweat, Booker, Dio, and Turner, will a defensive end really be a priority this offseason? I think a defensive tackle is more of a priority.
I agree with you that a defensive tackle is more of a priority. It's okay. How is Dio coming off of his surgery?
Yeah.
How is Shamar Turner coming off of their surgery on the rehab? What's the prognosis? Are they going to be ready for camp? Are they going to be ready for the offseason program? Turner probably be limited during the offseason. When did he get hurt? In October? For the offseason program, he had an ACL. I don't remember what Dio had. What did he have?
Gosh, it had to be, I think it was a knee, wasn't it? Let me check.
It might have been a knee too, because I know he had an Achilles in college.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah. He was looked at as a potential first rounder, and he tore his Achilles.
He tore his Achilles. He tore his Achilles in November. Wow.
Oh, that's the second Achilles, but it depends if it's the same one. Was it November?
Yeah, that's what it says here. I mean,
okay, now is it the same one? Now, Achilles surgeries aren't anywhere near as bad as far as rehab as they used to be. 10 years ago. Okay, and there's guys coming back in 6 months. So, will it be a priority? I mean, you got to get another strong pass rusher, I think, unless they think Shamar Turner can do it. But you want to get a sure thing too. But I think shoring up the inside, Big Billings he's out of contract.
Mm-hmm.
Williams, number 91, he's out of contract. So you've got to get some added people there. I'll tell you a player that's starting to grow on me a little bit, and it's way too early to talk about it. I don't know where, you got to see what he's going to work out. But the defensive end from Illinois, Gabe Jackus.
Yeah, I've seen some of his tape. Pretty impressive.
He's a type of player that seems to fit within this scheme.
Bigger.
Yeah. But he's pretty damn athletic too. Now, again, I want to see how he works out, what he runs. Mm-hmm. But I can't tell you, I haven't seen enough really to say he's I looked at one of his best games, which was the Duke game. He had a good game. And I think parts of another one, just to get a little idea, because I hadn't studied him. But he's an interesting guy. I want to ask, Olin goes to every one of their games. I want to ask Olin what he says.
Tell Olin, get his ass in here. We want to talk to him. All right, I just want to clarify one thing. Yes, Dale indeed had a torn Achilles in the November 3rd game against the Cincinnati Bengals. So it was early November. Next question is
January, February, March, April, May. If he's lucky, the second part of the offseason program, he'll be doing stuff. Maybe not full go, but he'll be doing stuff.
I hope so. A lot of people talking about
because again, I got to keep reiterating, every surgery is different, every player is different. So
a lot of people are talking about McFadden. Now McFadden apparently played the left tackle in the past. Do you foresee if Trapillo isn't ready to start the season? Could you potentially see McFadden getting the reps there during OTAs and preseason and him starting left tackle?
I was looking up his height yesterday, his measurables coming out of college. This is actually during the game. He's not even 6'3".
Oh, wow.
He's 6'2 3/4", but he has 34-inch arms. So no, I don't see him as a potential left tackle. He's too short. He's got the length, but he's too short.
I'll tell you what, the guy can play left guard. I'll tell you what, based on what I saw yesterday, that's good news.
No part of that is, though, that's good coaching.
Yes, that offensive line coach, bravo, yeah. We got one here from Spawn. He says, Shamar Turner was at the defensive end due to the lack of bodies earlier in the season. Will he move inside again for camp or do both? Your thoughts?
Okay. He was drafted to be a 3-tech. He played really 1 year inside at A&M in that defense, and they asked him to get bigger. Before that, he was more of an outside player. If you go back to what Ben was saying when they drafted him and at the beginning of camp, because people kept bringing it up, and our good buddy Swifty would bring it up all the time. Even when I was doing stuff with Swifty, he could play defensive end really well. Well, they needed then to get somebody at end, and they tried him out there, and they go, ooh, shit, he's pretty good. And so, and so I think their focus, their thought process on him going forward is he's an end, not a tackle.
Wow.
And he is strong as hell. But, he never ran because he had a leg injury. I'm going to say that as big as he was, he still would have run in the 4.7s. And so, he might even be a step faster than that if you get him down into the 270, 275 range instead of 295.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. By the way, Spawn says that Charbonnet, the Seattle Seahawks #1 running back, is out for the year.
What happened to him in that game?
It was early in the game. I think I want to say maybe early second quarter. He started limping, and they checked him out. It looked like he might be able to come back because I saw him jogging a little bit. But I'll get more information. He apparently is out.
It's going to be the Survivor game.
Yep.
I mean, but that's I was thinking Denver. Denver loses their quarterback on the second last play with a broken foot.
That's tragic. It really is tragic. Surgery needed for Charbonnet. I got to tell you, the NFL talking about going to 18 regular season games, they should put a stop to that immediately. Immediately. Because these guys, their bodies are just, you can't do this to these men. So anyway.
It's a physical game.
It really is, man. You just do.
Well, they're going to go, if they do that, they are going to go to just 2 preseason games, which means that the beginning of the season is going to be kind of horseshit football.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, week was it 18 of this NFL season where there was a lot of shitty games. All right,
what you are going to see, and we saw it here last year, Ben's first year, is you had, now Buffalo was really only 1 day of a joint practice. There's a couple of days of joint practices. I think with Miami is more joint practices.
Okay,
because you're going to get you can get a lot more done doing that than you get out of a preseason game.
Gotcha. RKB, who is a co-host on the Barfly Tailgate Show, and they had a sensational show yesterday. He's got a question that I'm going to rewrite just a little bit. As opposed to who, I'm going to ask you, in terms of the Bears player personnel department, they're getting ready for free agency right now. They're starting to do their analysis and so forth. Can you take us through that? Because the draft is, a lot of it is dependent on who we acquire in free agency. What's Jeff King and his guys doing?
I couldn't even guess what they're going to do.
Right. But the process, you can tell us.
Step one of the process is review the season. And again, I can tell you how we did it. I don't know exactly how Ryan's going to do it with his staff, but you have meetings that last 3 days maybe, and you start with one side of the ball, you go to the other side of the ball. So you got the position coach, the coordinator, the head coach, and you're doing, say, offensive line. And then you go wide receiver, blah, 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 and you go through each one. You talk about each player. Where do you see that player? You're happy with him. You're not happy with him. Does he have an upside? I don't want him next year. All that type of stuff. So you get through that, and that's where you start to formulate your plans. And obviously, contracts come into play.
Right.
Especially if the guy, if he's out of contract, do we want to try to get him back? And then go from there. What's his market going to be? And there might be a situation where they want both their starting safeties back, but they can't afford them.
All right. Exactly.
So, they're going to put the number out, talk to the agent. This is what we're going to give you. And, based on, what they have or how much money they have and what they want to accomplish, there is going to be a budget.
Yep. There's going to be a budget.
And that's where, some fans can say, why are they doing this? Well, you prioritize things. And if they can take it, fine. If they can't take it, we're moving on and we'll get somebody else.
Yeah. Now, let me ask this, getting back to the question Brandon asked a few minutes ago. A guy like Kevin Byard, who clearly is going to have a career in broadcasting. Could you tell him, listen, your best option is to stay in Chicago? I know you can make more money. The Steelers are offering you more money. But if you stay in Chicago with you and your family, you're going to get broadcasting offers, from all these TV stations and podcasters, whatever. And so you got to think long-term post-playing career. Do you think does that approach ever happen when negotiating with players?
Not really.
Fuck that idea.
Versus, and I think he's going to be 32 next year. So I'm trying to look this up right now.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah.
He already is 32. So when is his birthday? Do I got a birthday for him? August 17th. So he'll be 33 years old.
Started next season.
Yeah, starting next season. So how big of a deal is he going to have? Mm-hmm. Being that he's, you might see a 2-year deal,
right,
at decent money, but that's going to be a case where, depending on the team, they're going to, somebody may value him a little more. They may value him more here than somewhere else because of the age.
Mm-hmm. Stephen Nagishi says, I have a feeling many Bears free agents will stay, even if it means they are close to winning the Super Bowl. It might take less too. So I get what you're saying, Stephen.
I don't totally agree with that, because I know, all the years I spent, and they might tell you that, but then when it gets to show me the money, they go with the money.
Yeah. Do you think Max is saying that he thinks Bayard might have put himself into a really top echelon pay category for safeties, given the fact that he led the NFL in interceptions?
Not at 33 years old next year.
So
33 years old in August. How much are you going to pay him?
Well, you would pay him upfront money, right? So
because here's where you get in trouble.
Okay, tell me.
And I'm just trying to think logically through this. You're going to sign him to a 3-year contract and give him a big signing bonus, and he's got really 1 year left in the tank, and now you got dead money.
Understood. Yeah, Mickey Loomis would do that. But
okay, so what I'd want to do, given his age, is a 2-year deal.
Yeah. I agree with that, and I know we don't pay attention to PFF scores here, but Swaggy says that Bayard was rated as the 19th best safety. I disagree with that.
Scores are ridiculous as tits on a mouse. Anybody who wants to put any credit into a PFF score, please. Those are for fans to make them think like they know what they're talking about. They're awful. They are totally clueless as to what a player's real value is.
So you're basically kind of prior to talking about BFF, you basically answered this next question, was how much does age factor into decisions on free agency? Like, so for instance, Bayard versus Brisker, who would you prioritize when it comes to talking contracts with safeties?
Well, Brisker didn't have the turnovers that Bayard has. Bayard's got great
because he's a different player, right?
Yeah. But you saw, given the right situation, and maybe part of this had something to do with it, Kyler Gordon was in. Kyler Gordon was in a lot better condition this week than he was a week ago, and that allowed you to do more with Jaquan Brisker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so given the age, Brisker's only been 4 years in the league, and he got through this season healthy after having the concussion problem a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that you're going to put more of a priority into Brisker. Now, you watch that clip you had. For all we know, they could have had some talks, and he already knows what the money is here.
Right.
But that stuff's never going to be made public.
Right. He if reading between the lines with his social media posts and so forth, it appears he has been unhappy that he has been bypassed for contract extensions. So I'm sure he's anxious to test free agency unless the Bears come back with an offer you can't refuse, which isn't going to happen.
No, safety as a whole is not a big money position.
Right. Yes, indeed.
Corner is, but not safety.
Mm-hmm. I get you. Great question, Arnie. And so we will see. I will tell you one thing. Somebody, who was that? I think it was Steven, says that Brisker and Kyler Gordon are an excellent tandem. It seems like when they're both on the field together, they get shit done. And so
I agree with that. But again, it's what's his value on a monetary scale to this team, and what's the backup safeties. Those guys are minimum contract guys.
Right.
It's take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you got two starters that are good players, but one's going to be 33 in August. So what's your limit?
Right.
And I don't have his contract because they're not showing on over the cap. They're not showing the current contracts that are showing next year, at least right now. But so what did he make this year? When you look, last year he didn't play as well as this year, but you had a new scheme and he played a lot better within this scheme.
Thank you, Arnie Lindbergh, for the $2 donation. Really enjoy your presence in the chat. Everybody's presence in the chat is fucking outstanding. So, and another guy, Relentless Mikey. He is always got good questions, good thoughts. I know your answer to Relentless Mikey's question here, and it's regarding the training staff. What are your thoughts as it relates to prepping the guys to help reduce soft tissue injuries? Tell me again. The evaluation process starts tomorrow regarding training staff. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of people involved in that. There's part of it's nutrition with soft tissue injuries. Part of it's training habits. Part of it is how did the injury occur. If they are, in fact, like if the coach and Ryan aren't happy with certain things, and they know that everything is reviewed. So if they aren't happy, then you could see a change. Now, they made a change last year. Jimmy Arnold was let go. And that was right after Ben was hired. And then the assistant was elevated to the head guy. Now, could that have been a difference in philosophy or whatever? I don't know. I don't know why Jimmy was let go. So could they make another change? Anything is possible. Will they? I don't know. If you see a change is being made, then you could say that it has a direct relationship to what the injury situation was this year.
Right.
But you go back and like Jalen did it in the offseason at home by himself. Okay, he didn't do it here under their supervision.
Interesting. Okay.
He did it like 2 weeks before camp started.
Yeah, and so hopefully, in a situation like that, you can't demand that the player do his rehabilitation or his training at Hallis Hall.
Well, during the season you can, but you can't
during the season.
Yeah.
Correct. So what you hope is that the player's training staff, his personal training staff, is in communication with what the Bears want this guy to work on, so that there's at least some cohesion, some synergy going on, for lack of a better word.
Well, I give you an example. Guys that are hurt and are going to need rehab. A lot of those guys, even though the off-season program doesn't start till April, they'll be doing the rehab here.
Yeah.
Okay, they'll be in there. They'll be doing the rehab. They'll be working with the trainers every day. Do they have to? No, but most of them will, because part of it is, then the team is pretty much up to date with what's going on,
right?
And they know how the guy's doing it. Where if he's in California or down south or something, they don't know, and then he comes back and he's not where you thought he would be, given what the injury was. Well, that's a mark against the player.
Okay. All right. Still, we get more and more questions. It seems like we'll never end here. But let's get a few of these. And I apologize to the people we won't get their questions to. True Pilgrim is asking about DJ Moore. Do you think DJ is becoming a problem, given that it appears like he gets lackadaisical in some plays, or maybe he was just too tired to finish running that route the way that he should have? Do you think DJ Moore is a problem?
I first of all, no, I don't think he's a problem. He's revered in the locker room. Number two, I don't know what happened on that play. The coach has got to say what happened on that play.
Yeah.
Okay. And could have been Caleb's fault? Yeah, could have been. Was it DJ's fault? Yeah, could have been. Was it, Luther was there too, short. Maybe Luther did something wrong. So there was, and Luther's been known to do some things wrong.
Yes, he has.
And I don't have the answer to that. DJ, I think if it's correct, he's had a touchdown each of the last 3 or 4 games or something.
Yeah,
including yesterday.
He makes big plays. There's no doubt.
And I don't know if there's a tougher guy in that wide receiver room than that guy. Guy gets the shit kicked out of him every week, and he keeps right on playing. He got a couple good whacks yesterday. He goes out for a minute or two, and he's back in.
Yeah. Yeah, you were talking about Luther making mistakes and so forth. Someone had a question earlier about, shouldn't Ja'Day Walker have been playing more snaps than Rome, because Rome didn't look ready and he drops that touchdown pass and so forth. I know it's hard for us to know what's going on there.
You're only going to have X amount of players active, and that includes a certain amount of receivers and where he lines up on the depth chart. So I'm going to say no. You're going to go with the guy who's a better player. Rome's 2 catches were freaking good catches now. Yes, he dropped an easy touchdown.
Yep.
His fault. But the other catches were really difficult catches.
I agree with you, Greg. You'd love him to be free of any defects in his receiving game, but what he does good, he does really fucking good. And he's probably the best wide receiver at blocking downfield. The guy gives total
and he's been playing with a freaking broken foot.
Yep.
And people, he's 100%. No, he's not. He might only be 60% right now.
Yep. I'm happy that he dropped that touchdown pass too, but you can't overlook what this guy does. All right, I apologize for some of these questions we're not going to get through as we're approaching 1 p.m. Central here. Let me get to let's see here. Jimmy saying that, why did they never have the same rushing scheme they had against the Eagles when they rushed the game so well?
You only can run what you can run based on what the defense does.
Mm-hmm.
And so, based on Philly's scheme, they were able to do certain things. Every game, and I've said this before, what had happened in another game means nothing going into, you could have run for 300 yards on the Rams could have gave up 300 yards rushing last week. And I'm just being hypothetical here against Carolina. And that doesn't mean the Bears are going to run 300 on them this week. Every game takes on its own identity. The coaches make a game plan based on what the other team does. And some teams, and Green Bay did it. I'm sure the Rams did it yesterday too. They went into the game saying, we are stopping the run.
Yeah.
And
all right.
So and that's the answer. So it's not, you got to separate games. You can't say because we did it then, you're going to do it now. It doesn't work that way.
Yep, indeed. But I get where you're coming from, Jimmy. That was a sensational run game against Philadelphia.
It was great.
All right, man. So many good questions we have to bypass. I'm going to say this to people in the chat. They've had good questions about the draft and free agency and so forth. Greg and I are going to sit down and talk about what we're going to do over the next coming months. But I'll tell you this. My plan is that Greg and I are going to cover this off season as well as anybody else. We're going to talk about draft picks. We're going to talk about free agency. Greg is going to let us know what he's hearing from sources around the league and so forth.
And we'll get Dane on and maybe another draft guy on.
Yeah.
Because there's one guy I want to get on that I did some work with the East West. Probably get Eric Galco on again, talking for the draft. And then, maybe we can get an agent in.
Mm-hmm.
We could have Ben's agent. We can get Mike McCartney.
Oh, love those two guys. We've had them on before. Yeah, outstanding.
Right. That's why I mentioned them. So, I mean, there could be a lot of guys that we could get in that their expertise, can help us a little bit in this off-season part. Because now the off-season started, last night at 8:00 or whatever time that game ended.
Indeed. Unfortunately, a little earlier than we wanted, but that's when it started. Now, the contract season, the new official start to the new football season is March 1st. Is that correct?
No, it's March. Let me get them.
March 15th.
It's around the 15th, but it's earlier this year.
So that's when.
I'm going to tell you when it is as soon as I get into March 11th is the first day of the new year.
All right. I got it.
Wednesday, March 11th. So that means you're going to have deals on free agency on Monday the 9th.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to issue a promise to all of our fans. This draft season, Greg and I are going to kill it. We're going to kill it. I'm going to work my butt off to provide Greg with all the resources that he needs in order to bring his expertise. I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, I'll tell you what's going to be difficult. Been kind of easy the last few years because you're picking higher.
I hear you.
Okay. You know where they're picking right now?
Mm-hmm.
Already set. 25.
25. Hey, look at that.
Okay. So, now it's like, well, who are they going to take? How the hell do I know? Tell me who the first 24 are.
Yeah. And Greg, it could be one of those seasons where trading out of the first round to acquire more day 2 picks might be advisable. Fair?
Well, it depends how it comes off the board. And what happens sometimes, and it's an advantage sometimes to be drafted in the 20s, is there's mistakes being made up high. And then good players end up falling to you in the 20s.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
But, we got a pretty good idea who the underclassmen are, except for 2 schools. 2 schools playing tonight. Those guys don't have to declare for another day or so.
Yeah.
Then we're going to know who's in the draft. Then we got the combine. Okay, do they pass the medical? And too many people put a lot of emphasis on the workout, and the workout is important, but the medical is the most important.
Indeed.
And then, because you've got pro days. Because you could 2 guys the Bears drafted high last year. Didn't work out.
Did not.
Colson Loveland, Shamar Turner, because of injuries. So we'll just see what happens. But they were deemed, if you recall, I called a doctor friend of mine, orthopedic friend of mine. We talked about Loveland maybe a week before the draft and said, yeah, Loveland It's a 6-month injury. He should be good to go by camp. Guess what? He was good to go by camp, but they took a little bit easy on him.
Yeah.
And
which was smart.
Yeah. And then I think we also said that, I knew for a fact after the Colts wanted Loveland first. Warren, I thought, and here's what point I'm trying to make. Anybody that you hear Ben Johnson talk about or Ryan Poles talk about, throw him out the window. They're not interested.
They're going to play that deflection game. Yeah.
The guys they don't talk about are the guys they want.
Yeah.
Ben was praising Tyler Warren up and down. Oh my God, the things I can do with that guy. They didn't even bring his ass in.
That's funny. That is funny. By the way, kudos to Ryan Poles, and we're going to give him his due flowers in future shows. But Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, Ozzie Trapilla, the first 3 picks of this draft, all of them are home runs. Shamar Turner is going to be a home run. There's no doubt in my mind. Cal Monangai, a home run. So that leaves Ruben Hippolyte, Zay Frazier, and Luke Newman as potential home runs. We can't give up on any
Luke
of those.
Luke Newman played good when he was asked to, and he's a valuable reserve, and he's a 6th round pick.
Yeah.
So,
and I get people questioning the Hippolyte pick. I'm not too thrilled about that, but we can't give up on him.
They liked Hippolyte. They thought he hit the rookie wall, and which is not unusual. That all of a sudden the game got too big for him.
Yeah.
Where initially he was actually playing, and he played real good in the preseason, and then he was like on overload. Now you want to hope. And the same thing happened to Sewell. When Sewell was a young player, then Sewell, until he got banged up this year, Sewell was playing pretty good football when he had to play. Yeah. So don't go saying a rookie's a hit or a miss based on the rookie year. I mean, Frazier had some sort of mental health issue. What it was, we don't know.
Yeah, and that's his business, not ours. But hopefully he'll be back better than ever. So there's 2 things left to talk about here, but I'd love to table one of them to next week or a future show where we could talk at length about the stadium situation. Is that fair, Greg?
Yeah,
unless you got a headline thought right now.
I think more and more that Northwest Indiana is a viable option.
Oh, yeah.
When you saw what the state of Indiana is willing to do.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, man.
They're handing it to them.
Yeah.
The Bears were going to pay for the cost of the stadium. No, we'll do it.
Well, in essence, with all the stuff they get, the Bears' smart move would be to go to Northwest Indiana. Weighing what Indiana's offering and Illinois is offering, it's a no-brainer.
If Illinois doesn't step up to the plate, there's a lot of guys who are going to lose elections.
Oh, yeah, because you're absolutely right. It's like in Chicago, we remember, those of us who were old enough remember that Jane Byrne won the mayoral race just simply because the previous mayor didn't pick up the snow fast enough. Did you talk about the Bears losing the Bears?
I don't know how they vote in Chicago, but the last 2 mayors, Lori Lightfoot and this guy now, are absolutely atrocious. How do they get people so bad? The last decent mayor they had was Rahm Emanuel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of his either, but nonetheless, we'll talk more at length about that. And I got a couple of ideas on guests that we can bring in that will give us a lot of factual information, and then Greg and I will have fun asking questions. The other topic that we have to talk about before we get out of here, Greg, everybody in the chat, people around the world want to know your thoughts on tonight's Miami-Indiana football game. Take it away.
Well, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I want Miami because I can't stand Signetti.
Yeah, I know why.
And that's the only reason. I think he's a asshole, hypocrite. He's a good football coach. He's a very good football coach.
Yeah.
He's an asshole, hypocrite. And so because of that.
But you can't say any more than that, Craig.
But I'd like to see Miami win. And the game's in Miami. I didn't even think about that. I had no idea until yesterday where the national championship game was because I didn't pay attention to it. And hell, it's a home game. It's their home stadium.
Should be a fun game.
Yeah.
Should be a fun game, yes. And this kid, the quarterback for Indiana, I do believe he can be one of those transcendent quarterbacks. He's not going to be like Caleb, but the guy has it all in terms of what's up here and his accuracy.
He's good. I think he's going to be I don't think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be a good pro. The guy I'm glad stayed in school was the Oregon kid. He's got issues. He needed to stay in school. He's got character issues. And he's not a criminal, but he's got some a-hole to him.
Yeah.
And so that was talent. He's got a shitload of talent.
Mm-hmm.
But talent doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good because, Johnny Manziel had talent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's got Johnny Manziel a-hole to him, but, there are some issues.
Yeah. Well, you're going to share more as time goes on because one thing about Greg, he's got a lot of sources when it comes to this time of the season. He's getting information from a lot of people, some stuff he won't mention, of course, but some stuff he will.
I got to say, I got two really, really close friends that work for me, now work for the Rams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I texted them right after the game, and then they texted me back. Teddy Monago, who I love, Teddy, and Marty Barrett. And I've known Marty. Marty played quarterback at the University of Buffalo, and I've known Marty since he was a junior at UB. So we go way, way back. And Marty lives in Tennessee now, but both of those guys are with the Rams. And I hope the Rams go all the way because of those two guys.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I know you weren't a big fan of Matthew Stafford when he was in charge. You had said things like he's a stat stuffer and stuff, but I think
he was like that yesterday.
Yeah, but I think over a period of time, he's proven that, first of all, he's as tough as nails. And second of all, he's a winner. Given a good coach. And
McVay, he got with McVay and he got better.
Well, and the same thing with Caleb. If Caleb was still playing under Eberflus and what's his name?
No, there's no question. You got to have the right marriage.
Yeah, it takes two to tango sometimes. And but we've got plenty of time in the offseason to talk about that, free agency, the draft season, so forth. Greg, I can't tell you how much fun it's been covering the 2025 Chicago Bears with you. It's been a joy and a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to our offseason work heading into the 2026 season. Anything you want to say to your fans before we pull the plug on this episode?
This was a very enjoyable year. Had a lot more fun than I think we thought we'd have, than we expected we had. The season, we knew they were going to be better. We didn't know they were going to be this good.
That's right.
And, Tirico's call on that fourth down pass by Caleb, he just started screaming. He did it again. And it was just like, I think we're just beginning to see that there's going to be more and more of those. The guy's magic.
He really is.
He has faults. There's no question. But a lot of those he'll improve upon.
Yeah. I can't thank everyone in the chat more than just say, this show works because of your involvement, your questions, your comments. It really helps me as a producer and lead host of the show and helping set up Greg with great questions. Stuff you guys are so invaluable to us. Really, really appreciate it.
Absolute best.
They really are. And Lutz, the reporter, wants to end the show with the $2 donation saying, you guys are a blast. And Lutz, love all the donations that you sent us, and your work over at patch.com following NFL football is fabulous. So please follow Lutz on social media. You'll find his links to his written work there. All right, Greg, last words. Say something that is excellent to close the show.
Let's look forward to next year.
I love it. That works for me. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.
See you later.